things ever. Hey, here he is in the building. I can hear you.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm having the time of my life, good brother. Should we start with Rhode Island born and Rhode Island bred, and when we die?
Well, I'm from Philadelphia, but for sure, Rhode Island was my stomping grounds.
Yes, I know that. So I was in Philly when you were in Philly, while you were growing up, and I would have to say, while you were in high school playing basketball, there was the illest high school. Like if you, Kobe, Rashid, who else was there when you were there?
Alvin Williams, Jason Lawson, Tyrone Weeks, Sean Colson, Ferron Hand, Rondell Turner, Sean Smith Reds. He was one of the best point guards in the country. We had a lot of guys. Then our college guys was Eddie Jones, Aaron McKee, Rick Brunson, all those guys.
So at that time in Philly, I was living in Mount Airy during that time. Yeah. I was living in Mount Airy, and you from North Philly?
North Philadelphia, yeah.
And during that time, it was the golden age for those of us. I remember being at a Sixers game, and this kid, I mean, he walked in. He was tall and skinny. Seemed like he thought he was the baddest thing on earth. I mean, he walked like what? I'm like, who is this little boy?
Kobe.
He walked like that in high school. Talk to me about playing during that era in Philly.
You know what's so funny about that? I picked up a basketball kind of, relatively late in my life, whereas usually the Kobe's and the Alvin Williams and all those guys, they're picking balls up at 6 years old. So I started touching the basketball at 13. So I had a lot to catch up on as far as learning the game, understanding the game, fundamentals, the whole thing. So growing up in that kind of atmosphere, I guess, got me to become a pro faster, because those guys were already on that path of becoming the best player they can be. Eddie Jones, Aaron McKee, Rick Brunson, Doug Overton, Randy Woods, Pooh Richardson, along with Kobe's and the Al Williams and the Jason Lawson, Rasheed Wallace's, Ty Weeks, and all those guys. And Malcolm Gladwell speaks about this in his book, Outliers. Speaks about 10,000-hour theories, and then he speaks about your environment, right? You see a lot of hockey players come from the Canada region because of the way it's cold and, playing a lot. And, and for us at that time, it was so many of us, there was so many ball players that didn't go pro, that were pros in our community.
Oh, I used to go to Sunny Hill games,
yeah.
And it was, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have sold tickets to the Sunny Hill game.
It was crazy. We were athletic. It was a lot of like North Philly aggressive, super aggressive. So it was a lot of like North Philly versus South Philly versus West Philly versus Southwest. It was a lot of that going on. So we were always competing, to the highest level, and I think that's what made a lot of us really good early on.
I was at Strawberry Mansion at the time. I was actually in graduate school working at Strawberry Mansion. That was a rough place.
Yeah.
Beautiful name, but a rough. They used to tell us to be out of the building at 2:07. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
2:07. You got that.
Yeah,
they have basketball games with no fans.
Yeah.
Varsity games with no fans.
Because the fans get too crazy and rowdy, man.
It's true. Now, I know you went from there to Maine.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a tough transition.
It was, you know what? I don't know if so much of it was for me because I went to Catholic school my whole life, and then when I knew what I wanted to do. So in knowing what I wanted to do, there was kind of like no distractions. So the tough environment for me was, as long as I can play ball, I'm cool. And the gym was, as soon as I walk outside the dorm, the gym was there. The only thing was it was cold, and it was cold in Philadelphia also. So it wasn't like I was hanging around, I didn't have idle time in high school. So when I got to prep, there was no idle time. It was up super early to work out. Then it was school. And then it was working out again. Then it was study hall. Then it was working out again, go to sleep and repeat and do the same thing. But again, I wasn't like, they give us some time off on Saturdays or whatever, maybe a Friday night where, the van to take some of us boys to like the mall or movies or something like that. But I was so like focused, laser focused of like wanting to be, a Division I player, that I really didn't care about like free time. It didn't bother me much.
One of the things that we're going to talk about your basketball career, which is impressive, period. I mean, it is what it is. And most cats who look at you, they want to talk to you about your sports career. And it is worth lauding, and we're going to talk about that. But for me, what I find most interesting about you is you are a real father. Like, this is you went with your daughter and son to get your nails done.
Yeah.
I mean, at least her nails.
No, all of us. It was all of us.
Okay,
yeah.
So what is it in you that makes being a father so central to your identity?
Man, when I was a little kid, I watched this one movie, and I always say this, and it seems corny, but there was a movie called Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton.
Remember it? Yeah.
And I thought it was the coolest thing. And listen, I had two amazing fathers too. My stepfather passed away my rookie year, and he was my oracle. And then my father has an amazing spirit, right? He lives in Philadelphia, and he comes out, periodically. But I was raised by really good men that were like, they were street guys, but they were, my stepfather was brilliant, knew everything. He was very catering. He was, he kiss you, hug you, jump on you, all those different things. And, taught me how to be the person that I am, right? And my father was the same way. He wasn't as educated because my dad had a more, a rougher background. He was in jail. He was a two-striker. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't a person that can read well, but my dad was a genuine good person. And the streets caught him early on in his life. And then after, I was born, he vowed to not get in no more trouble, which he didn't. He didn't get in any more trouble. So, I think for me, I thought that movie was really cool of watching the dad be more so, not so much center of attention, but more so dialed in like my fathers were for me. And I always said to myself, that's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to be involved and just, through this journey. Because, listen, I don't care how old I am, I'm still learning. Because, once the 9-year-old little girl tells you something, she's teaching you something else. That's something that's not inside you that you have to expose. And your 13-year-old and your 22-year-old, right? Like, all of them get on my nerves, but I love them all. You know what I mean? So, I'm a student of life. And when, I think that's one of those titles that I have as being a father or dad, that within that I ask for from the universe, I still have to learn. And, I don't know. I love doing it. I love being it.
But you more than seem to love being it. It's an identity for you. It's a central part of your makeup. Mm-hmm. What is the reason that you think more men don't stand in the same light that you're in?
Yeah, I don't know what the reason would be, right? There's your theories. There could be whether they're with the mother or not, whether the mother is more controlling, in those situations. I'm a single dad, so I get to control my own household and teach my children as much as I can. What I think will not benefit me or make me feel good, but will benefit them in their lives. And through that, we'll all feel better, especially in the future. But I think a lot of parents, especially a lot of dads, we grew up more silent. So it's the generation of, he's working all day, and when he comes home, don't bother him. He's sitting on the couch, I make a meal. And then it went to the independent mom, and then the feminist kind of thing, and it's really strong. And then now the father's not in the household, and all those different things I see, and I wasn't privy to those, right? I was my dad's house with my stepmom and my dad, or my mom with my stepfather. So I had men in the household, always holding me accountable. So I don't know no other way but to be who I am as a mentor, a father, an oracle, whatever it is. But I think for a lot of men, some men are, it's more of a generational curse where they just don't feel like the nonsense or the, because, think about this, Doc. You go to the doctors, right? Say you go to the doctors with your wife. The doctor's actually more so making more eye contact and talking to the woman than she is the man. You go to the dentist.
From the time, all the time. Not just that. As soon as the child is born, people don't realize that men are conditioned to not be fathers. Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Yep. Yes.
When my first son was born, I love my mother, but they took him out of my hands. Like, I'll take him. Whoa, hey.
Yeah.
There's so many women, well-intended as they may be, who are saying you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Put on a diaper. Like,
right.
I'm not performing an appendectomy here. I'm just, it's just got two sticky things there. I have degrees. Like, I can figure this stuff out.
Right. Right.
What impact do you think that has on a man who's seeing, like you said, even the doctor? You're right. If I went to the doctor with my wife, he'd talk to her.
You're gonna talk to the dentist is going to talk to her more. The school's going to talk to them more. Everything's like that, and the majority of doctors that deliver babies are men. So, you know what I mean? A lot of the dentists are men that you're going to, right? The pediatrician, the dentist, all that are men. So for them, they're so conditioned to like, she knows or she's the one who's taking care. Sometimes that's kind of like a slap in the face. What if the man's more of a stay-at-home man, father? So you need to be speaking to him more. I think that generation, that preconceived notion of he's the man, he's not in the household, he really don't care much. And I don't know if that's their subconscious of them being like, you know what, I don't feel like doing it, let her do it. Maybe that's how they're speaking to the person.
Do you think a lot of men just get tired? You think a lot of men get tired of trying to speak their emotional truth?
Facts.
Facts. Okay.
Facts. So for me, that's another reason why I stay single and I stay in my own household. I love women. I respect women, right? But for me, I've seen, not just in my world, but just in the world of, it shouldn't be that, but man versus, woman kind of thing. The bumping of the heads. And listen, a woman has a child, their first child, she knows nothing, not one thing. So it's natural. She's getting feedback from so many people, right? She's reading books, she's asking other people, she's getting feedback. So why can't the man get feedback and learn it as well, right? So yes, no disrespect. Yes, you carry a baby for 9-10 months. Okay, we understand that. But you have to understand us too. We want to be able to be just as equal, right? Like a woman can have a child, decide to have a child. If a man does not want to have a child, she can decide to have that child and also get child support. But if the man says he wants the child and she doesn't want the child, she can abort the child. But then you turn around and say, it's my body. It's such confusion. Now, I don't condone the abortions. You know what I mean? To each his own. But my point is, it's so lopsided. If a woman doesn't have money to take care of children, she can go to the government or she can go after the father. If a man doesn't, he's a deadbeat. These things are so weird to me, right?
Where do you think they come from? So where do you think the notion that if a man doesn't take care of his child, he's a deadbeat, and a woman can go on state?
Yeah, I think that's marketing and government.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, marketing, but it's the marketing behind the deadbeat dad. It's kind of like what people use, uneducated people or people who I call like the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? It's like you read one book about narcissists and all of a sudden 99% of men are narcissists. No, women are narcissists as well. We're not going to do this one, right? I'm educated, right? I don't just read one book and act like I'm a professional at something. I've actually studied these things for years. So when, the whole thing, this whole catchphrase of narcissism, and it's like, it's usually the man, and the man's this, and when he does this, and he fights back, or if he's toxic, he's narcissist. It's like, no, they're narcissistic women as well, right?
Do you think that men are often in arguments? Do you think men are often losing arguments and then reverting to just rage? because they don't feel like they can get off the words that or express their feelings with words?
Yeah, because, well, women are built off of emotion majority of the time, right? So you think of a lot of these young men that are out there in the world right now, they behave more female-like than they do more of a solid man, masculine-like, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's just they have more female behaviors where it's just more emotional. Everything's emotional. Everything needs a response, right? It's real catty. It's just, you know, it's just what it is. Like these generations, right? The 30s and the 20s.
Do you think that men are less emotional than women?
I don't know if it's more or less emotional. I think you can have emotion without action.
What do you mean?
Right? Well, I mean, I could be upset, but I don't have to show you it. There's an emotion inside me, but
Okay.
it doesn't have to have action with it, right? It doesn't have to draw out to the point where now I make you change your mind on something that may or may not be right or wrong, right? Like, so, you know, someone comes to you, a female comes to you, or a male comes to you. But just say a female comes to you, and then now all of a sudden you're going back and forth on an idea, or he says something to you, and now all of a sudden you cry. So now this female's crying, the woman is crying, and now he's like, well, he feels bad now. Now, is that because he feels bad because she's crying, or feel bad because, you know, the manipulation of, and that's when he was manipulated when he was a young little boy. And, you know, sometimes when you start to stick up for yourself, even male or female, when you start getting older, the parent goes, I'm your parent. You shouldn't talk to me like that. And it's like, wait, whoa, I'm a grown up now. So you talk to me.
So you feel like the tears are a form of emotional emotional manipulation?
Oh yeah, for sure. And we learned that at a very young age, right? You think about the baby. My daughter and I were in Target just a little while ago, and the mother had a little baby, a little boy, and he might have been like 3 years old. And she took something from him in one aisle, and he spazzed for like 10 minutes. He was just spazzing. And Sam and I were just looking at each other, and then we get to the checkout, and she's there again. And she took it from him. She took whatever it is, she took something else from him, and then she gave it to the lady so she can, you know, code it so she can buy it. He spazzed again, right? Like hit the floor, spazzed. Now, her brain is like, she was like, I don't care, you can do that. A lot, but I see a lot of moms is like, they feel embarrassed, right, with the child. So what the child is doing is the child is massaging you to act a certain way. You've only been here 3 years, but it's massaging you to act a certain way. Where does that stem from? And I was telling my daughter this. That don't stem from inside the store. That stems from home. So you might let them do more at home and get away with it because you're tired as a mother or as a father. You're so much more tired to deal with this little individual, opposed to like being a professional or a doctor, right? I'm a professional athlete, you're a doctor. We didn't just wake up one day, I could touch a ball and boom. You didn't just wake up one day and all of a sudden, no, you're a doctor. It took years to be able to become what you are. So it's going to take a certain amount of years, not that much it is to be a doctor or an NBA star, but to be able to not train, that's a bad word, but to be able to help the children through their emotions at a very young age that starts inside that house. So my kids,
go ahead.
No, so my kids, when I say something and we're out in public, I'm not acting all crazy. I'm like, yo, nope. That's it. A lot of parents, they got to negotiate. They got to do all these other things. I'm not for that. And I give hugs and kisses and everything. But I started that at a very young age inside the house. But see, if you don't know how to be a parent and you're just, you know, guessing and going this way and that way of what you should do and getting all this advice from other people. And also, too, is how were you parented when you were younger? You might not have been parented when you were younger. Because I always say, hold on one second. Yes, my love. Okay. I will always say, you know, we are children in grown-up bodies playing an adult. So I don't care. Yes, when a woman has a child, she is a mother. Yes, a man, if he helps make the child, he is a father. That's what, biologically, yes. But a lot of people don't know how to be those things because they're still stuck in their emotions.
Do you feel like mothers love their sons more than the father with whom they created the son?
I mean, again, this is all opinion, right? This is not
Yeah,
something.
that's what we. Yeah,
I
right?
do think that mothers gravitate more to the sons because it's more. And this is my opinion. I think because at a very young age they can control them mentally more, and the son needs them more. They can't go nowhere. What are you gonna do? Leave the house? You know, they're from their breastfeeding to keeping them around you to feeding them to doing their hair and all these different things from a certain age. You know, 75% of who you are is your first 7 years in life. So their first 7 years is usually with mom. So you kind of like mold you into that. And then in their insecurities, and men do it as well, but in their insecurities, they use the manipulation the older you get, right? Whether it's tears or whatever it is, type of things, to be able to keep that control. Because you ever see a lot of moms, when the boy or the man, the man starts to have a significant other, there's always a battle. Unless that significant other is kissing the mom's ass.
So let me say what I think I hear you saying. That during the time of early development up to adolescence, mom can control the boy, mm-hmm. and as such can love the boy more, mm-hmm. and more, quite frankly, than even she loves his father, mm-hmm. her husband or whatever partner, whatever the person with whom she created the child, mm-hmm. and may still be with, sleeps within the same bed, what have you. Yep. But then when another woman, girl, in this child's case, becomes starts to play an integral role in the young man's development because she's not his girlfriend, mom starts to get at loggerheads. And then the more serious it becomes, like in, let's say, the early 20s, when this thing could mean that this girlfriend is actually going to take her son away from her, that the mother becomes defensive and begins to fight back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where does that leave the boy? Or what will now?
Well, I mean, he leaves them confused, right? A lot of people, I don't think they really understand, even in their 50s, probably later than that, 60s and 70s, but especially in the 50s and 40s, 30s, a lot of people that have parents are parentified, because there's not a lot of parents that are actual adults, mentally mature adults, because we all been through certain things that stunted our mental growth. Now, not our body, but our mental growth has been stunted. And I don't care if you are successful or not, a lot of us has not done the work to become better at dealing with these different situations in life. Even if you have a child, even if you have $1 million, it doesn't matter. Are you mentally prepared that when something uncomfortable happens, you are comfortable and know how to navigate that through life, and then be able to help your child? Now, I'm going to give you an example. Whatever profession you are, being a doctor, me being a basketball player, we can be down 20. Is it uncomfortable? Yes, it is. For a lot of people who's never done it before. Is it uncomfortable for me? Not really, because we either going to lose this game or we're going to come back and win this game. I need effort. But also do is follow my lead, because I've been here before and I've helped myself through that emotion. A lot of parents hide from it. A lot of parents who don't want to talk about racism. A lot of parents who don't want to talk about the dead relative. Because they haven't dealt with themselves and able to articulate that to the child at a very young age, right? So we hide, and we hide from these things, and then we start getting older, and now you're sweeping so much dirt underneath the rug has a lump in it.
What happens when you have young men who are just at the time now where they're starting to separate from their mothers, mm-hmm. end up in the NBA together? Mm-hmm. These men who are still trying to figure out what it means to be a man, but who have ungodly wealth. What happens to the psyche of those young men who are in that space at the same time?
Especially, let me tell you something. I don't care if they're in the NBA or not. It's very difficult. They expose us because we're more seen, but you got the guys that are coming on Wall Street at 21, 22, 23 years old, right? They live paycheck to paycheck as well, right? They even do some crazy stuff. Anybody who comes to success at a very young age, first of all, a female's brain doesn't even fully develop until she's 26. That's science. That's not me, right? And a male's brain is a little later. Women mature faster than men. So when you're giving someone at 18, 19, 20, 20-some years old millions of dollars, I don't care who they are, where they're from. Whoever they are is going to evolve into whatever it is. And like I said before, you're dealing with a lot of these young NBA players, and their mothers were probably young. So they didn't really live their true life, or guess what? Being able to make themselves the best version of themselves before something like that comes. There was a phrase that says you can get every single person $1 million on the planet. Every single person. And when at the end of it, the money will somehow find a way back to the people who know about finance.
Okay. So, but what does it do to be in a space, testosterone-filled space, where these men have been the best athletes in most cases that they've ever met? Mm-hmm. They've been the most sought after person in their high school. Mm-hmm. They've been their whether it's their part of the city or their cities. Mm-hmm. That's the person who people like. Yeah, I know, Cat. Like he's the person who everybody knows. What happens when you take those young men and you put them in one locker room? You throw a whole bunch of money on top, but what's underneath them by way of foundation is what you've described as some feminine characteristics, as I heard you say. What happens to those men?
I don't know, man. Unless they take that money and really start searching well, you're playing an avatar. You're playing a character inside an avatar that you don't really understand. Right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, this is an avatar. Yours is an avatar, right? And then you're playing a certain character inside that avatar because of preconceived notions of what you think you should be. So if I'm an NBA player, there's a certain criteria of what exactly that means, right? So in the 70s, it was this, 80s, it was that, 90s, it started to evolve, right? The LeBron James, Michael Jordans, the Magic Johnsons, they evolved more so what a basketball player NBA should be. Businessman, boom, 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 get your stuff together kind of thing. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. So you're playing these avatars, and maybe some people don't want to be when you're playing these characters inside that avatar because they're looking at you. People can only see you from the outside. They can't see you within, right? So within comes in you, I guess, more of a practice, right? It's more of a pattern. They have to be around you more to know that, wow, Dr. Steve is, he's an amazing, genuine person. I can't just look at you and say you're genuine. I have to hear you. I have to see your actions. And a lot of these guys are going through life so fast. We play 4 games a week. We're traveling up and down. We're not in our household a lot. There's new people. Oh, I love you so much. And why do you love me? For what reason do you love me? Right? Like, I don't even know.
That's got to mess your head up. Though.
Yes. Like, I don't even know me to love me yet. Right? I don't even know me to love me. Well, when I was younger, I don't even know me to love me yet. You love what you see, because it could be the next person or the next person or the next situation, right? So I mean,
you're not even able to set up roots, right? Because in many cases,
roots are boundaries.
Right, roots. Oh, okay, all right. Keep going.
Well, yeah. So we don't really understand boundaries, right? And it goes back to when we were little kids. My daughter, me and her, everybody knows this in the world. My daughter and I are like this. My boys and I are like this. My daughter's close because she's the only girl in the household. And she's just my girl, right? But she has boundaries, right? She's in the bathroom, boom, we close the door. When she was younger, I had to wash her. Now she washes herself. She's in the bathroom by herself. There's certain boundaries. No, I don't feel like hugging that person. No, I don't feel like going there. No, I want to do this. You're teaching them boundaries. A lot of parents don't do that. It's like, do as I tell you to do, or whatever makes me happy, more so not you. So I'm just speaking from my experience. There's the mother on one side, then there's the father on the other side. When the child lives over here 50% of the time, and the child lives over here 50% of the time, they act differently. That's just what it is, right? Your children could act in front of you a certain way. They go out with their friends and walk down the street, you may hear some other crazy stuff. That's not what my children do. This is what, okay. So when the mother is there at the house, I know my child. No. You know what you taught them. Subconsciously and consciously, you know what you taught them. So of course they're going to mimic who you are, right?
So when you
That's
talk about, right,
because you know your actions.
Right.
You don't know the child, because when you come over to another spot, the father can say the same thing, but when you go over here, they act like that over there. So yes,
so what happens in this space? Right. What happens in this space though? Because I want to push you on this idea, because I think there's something pretty compelling about this. When you have young men, I said, who are together, athletes, literally the best that they've ever seen. Most of us will watch thousands of, maybe 1,000 games, basketball games, if we are part of this youth, what I call puppy mill, AAU, right? You see all these games, and very few of us will ever see a professional athlete. Most people don't seem to, like, very few of us. Maybe at the elite camps, you know what I mean, with the top 15. But other than that, very few of us will ever see a professional athlete. Still, among this group of alpha males, at least athletically, who are going from city to city, big crowds, you say like 4 games a week. NBA is just wild. You know, MLB is the only thing that's different. But y'all, it's wild. 4 games a week is just crazy.
Right.
What does that do to the psyche of a person who, you know, puts their head down and they're sleeping in Houston tonight, and then tomorrow there's something? How do you build relationships? How can you build relationships under those conditions?
You know that, and that's the tricky thing. I think that's what even rappers, right? Artists, right? Some artists, they get sad, right? They just only want to perform, right? Rappers, singers, you name it. I don't care. Truthfully, it's not about basketball. It's about anyone who comes into success fast and they're not prepared for it. A parent that's never been there, maybe has an education but never been a millionaire. I don't care what kind of education you got. Being a millionaire is totally different.
Right.
You know, and just sustaining it is another difference, right? And then you got family members that know that. So the psyche behind that for a lot of guys, in the beginning, you are humble. Oh, I just want to be a part of this and this, that, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, it becomes overwhelming, because now you, like I said before, there's the avatar and then there's the character. I have to be like this because I have fans, and it's not the fans' fault. It's not this person's fault, right? It's my fault because I asked to be a professional and I have to conduct myself a certain way. That is true in some ways. But also true is you have to understand boundaries. And we as a society don't know how to illustrate boundaries within ourselves. I mean, the women that's out there on Instagram and the men that are out there on Instagram and all over social media, you have to have no boundaries. Now, if I go and do certain stuff, I can't be upset with people when they see me on the street, but they saw me in this on Instagram or whatever social media, acting a certain way or doing a certain thing. Because
who comes to mind when you say that? Who's somebody who you think about who doesn't seem to have boundaries on social media?
No, I can't do that. But there's a lot of people that you know, they just, it's not even their fault. All I'm saying is it's such a broad thing, and a lot of parents, mothers and fathers, they don't even understand boundaries because they don't even give their children enough to be strong as individuals, because maybe subconsciously they don't want them to leave them or not need them, right? I'm not scared of my children leaving me when they get older, right? I'll be happy when you come and want to hang out with me at my house, or you want me to come to your house and hang with you guys. And when you have children, I can be the grandpop that's taking them to everything they got to do. That's fine for me. I want you to be the best. I'm not trying to restrict another human being from becoming their best version of themselves. That's not me. But a lot of parents do that, and they kind of massage it into saying, oh, I'm a mother, or I'm a father. No, yeah, you are, but you're not a parent, right? And
what's the difference between a mother and father or parent?
Well, I mean, I think mother and father are just title, right? And I think parent is something that you can be both of, right? Even if you have the other partner there. See, because it's like, say if you have a traveling wife or a traveling husband, and one of them are going 5 days out of the week to another city, or 10 days out of the week to another city. I think one of my best friends, who's a kid godparents, Sarah Novello and Johnny Novello, they do an amazing job with parenting. Because if Sadie has to travel, Johnny is mom and dad. And when Johnny has to travel, Sadie is mom and dad at the same time. And they both are disciplinarians. And their children are amazing, right? And I'm not saying they're going to be some valedictorian scholars or whatever it is, but I've been with them. I've lived with them. I understand what they are, right? And they're not only they're compassionate, they're hard on their kids, but and another group is, Kelly and Davon. They're the good parents. And they have this, they're not in competition also, right? And I think that's another thing. I'm not trying to be a female. I'm not trying to be a mother. I'm trying to be a parent. If God forbid, if anything happens, I have to take on both roles. So what does that mean? That don't mean just, that means providing. So as, they look at men to provide, correct? And security, right? And to uplift and be logical and rational. So women, you have to do that. You have children, right? And then in the opposite side, men, you have to be catering and understanding and more sensitive, and you have to do that, right? And I don't think we do that enough. One, I don't think, and I think we are I think a lot of people are in competition of other people, and I think when it comes to that dynamic, especially when the households are separate, there's a lot of competition, right? Well,
what do you mean by that? There are a lot of folks. We've got folks that tune in from literally all over the world. Mm-hmm. And
I think it's more of a subconscious with the competition thing, right? So it's not. Again, there's a child in a grown-up body playing an adult. So unless you've not healed those wounds of your childhood, they will spill in you the older you get, because now you feel attacked. There's the fight or flight of, well, it's your mom's house. What does she have in here? Okay, well, I got to get in here. What is this? Sometimes it's for them. Sometimes whatever it is that they do, that's for them. I don't have to do that. That's something they can remember with them, right? The mother or the father.
But there's a competition. But
people
talk about that.
People try to do competition.
And that's another thing.
Like? Comes to like child support, right? So if the mother and the father were living together, and these is all relative, but say they were living together and they live in $1 million home, and the kids were going to private school and they were doing all this and blah, blah, blah. And then now they separate. Was the mother and the father both working? Was the father just working alone? And was he an active father? I don't know. But the point is, now the child has to have the same thing. If the mother's a millionaire, the child's the same, and the father's not. What's her name? Britney Spears and Kevin Federline. She has to give him a certain amount of money. They got to live the same lifestyle. To me, it's mind-boggling. But then Halle Berry and the model guy, the same lifestyle. But it's more men that have to do that than it is women. So my thing is, it's like, growing up, you didn't earn it yourself. So why should you be able to live that same type of lifestyle that these individuals get to live? To me, I don't.
So then why do that?
I don't know. I seriously don't know. And listen, teach his own. Do you? But I don't understand. If I had a person that I whether together and had kids with and married and they were super duper successful, cool, that's theirs. And if they want to splurge with the children, that's fine. Money does nothing. It's the time and the way you spend with the children. That's it. Now put it this way. Because they say, oh, well, he has money, he's this. No, all I'm saying is, you can get, there's parents that live in the same house with their kids, all they do is give them money, and they never see them, and they never communicate with them. Then there's parents that manipulate kids through money. Then there's parents that I don't have money, but I have time. So you're competing against so many different things, right? So I just try to do as much as I can on top of working to be just there, right?
What do you like most now about your life?
I think that I'm very comfortable in learning and understanding that I'm human. And what that means is I make mistakes. I gradually learn more and more every single day. I think also too is not having the pressure to perform. I'm just me. Right? I think, playing basketball, I came into the NBA my first year, and it was a star-studded year, right? So Scottie Pippen, is Charles Barkley, is Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm on the Houston Rockets, winning team. And, my first year, all rookie team, 10 points. So you can't stay at 10 points, right? You got to become better. Second year, 17 points. Can't stay at 17 points, right? You got to come better. 19, 20 points. Can't stay at 19, 20 points, right? You got to be better. 22 points. So the pressure of, like, when is it enough, right? You could take a humble person, I don't need much. You don't need much, but you have a house with a garage. You have a car. You have more than one pair of shoes, right? Like, you have light, you have water. Like, that's all perspective, what much is, right? So then you want more from that. You know what I mean? Like, you're like that little child.
So what do you miss about that experience, about being in the league?
What do I miss?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing. Nothing. I mean, I miss my camaraderie with my guys, but as far as that, it's too much pressure that's put on you to perform. And then because we're human, we go through different types of emotions or whatever it is. This Russell Westbrook, I love Russell, but he was going through it in the beginning of this year when people are just being malicious, being mean, right? And they don't understand what he's trying to do. You got a superstar that they want to come off the bench and they want to do X, Y, and Z, this, that, whatever, and he's not doing this, and they see all the flaws that he's doing, but they're not seeing all the nonprofit things that he does and what he does with people and what he does. You market all the bad stuff. Like Kyrie Irving, you market all the bad stuff. It's what's considered bad. And then I don't want to be in that world. That world is not a good world to be in because you become depressed. You become depressed and you want to hide, right? Because I can't go to Whole Foods or Target without somebody saying something to me or looking at me and scowling or whatever it is. It's just like, I'm okay.
When you say that they become depressed, do you mean in an actual clinical way? Not saying that you would be diagnosing them, but are you saying that that the pressure is to the point where it creates a need for mental health support?
Yeah, there's a loneliness, right? There's a loneliness that we don't really know exactly what it is.
I don't think anyone will believe you. I really don't. I think most people will hear you. I mean, you Cat Mobley, all-star, successful, came out north, did your thing, playing in front of crowds. The term lonely isn't one that comes up. What do you mean by lonely?
Well, you can be in a crowded room and still be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Williams, right? Twitch, right? Like, it's a lot of people who I'm just thinking of people who committed suicide,
sure.
right?
Sure,
Phillips or Hoffman. There's so many people that commit suicide that they were lonely, right? They didn't want to live in the avatar or the character that everybody knew him as. They didn't want to live that way no more. Not saying they wanted to pass, but they just don't want that image anymore. They want to start over, right? And the only way to start over for some is to do certain things like that. So, one of my best friends, Alvin Williams, even said that. He said sometimes you would have people over to the house in Beverly Hills, where when I was living there at the time, and there was so many people that'd be downstairs, and I would just go upstairs to myself and watch TV. So, I mean, listen, I'm speaking on certain people that I know that are celebrity type people, and singers, actresses, whatever it is. Some people want to go on a sabbatical. They just don't want the energy. And all of us do that. I don't care what my name is or what I've done. We're still human. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know if you've been through that, whereas, you want to be by yourself. Or you
Absolutely.
people
will tell you they come to the house. I throw parties all the time. People tell you they come to the house and it's like, where's Steve? He's downstairs with the kids. So, yeah, I do understand it. One of the reasons I'm asking you about it is because I think people need to hear from a brother who played in the league, who has been successful, has had to come out of playing professionally, quite frankly, because of what could be life-threatening physical circumstances, that you're a human. Like, the superhumans that we pay to see, at the end of the day, when people are saying slick stuff to them, shouting at them from the crowd, telling them, like, nobody gets paid that much that mess doesn't get underneath your skin. Nobody gets paid that much that you could just talk any old way recklessly to somebody. Nobody loves their job that much that they want to go on their job. I don't care what you do, where somebody comes in and starts speaking to you like they have no damn sense.
Right.
None.
Right. Listen, and again, too, is think about you being mentally incarcerated. So I can't go back at them. Somebody, a regular person, can probably go back at a person if they even have.
Oh, you can't even say nothing. If they come at you on Twitter, if you say anything, this ass is going to spend all day literally tweeting you and tweeting you and tweeting you and tweeting you and tweeting.
If it's even a person, it could be a bot.
That's
you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's tweaking you. So what I do is I don't go back and forth. I block you
quickly.
One thing I see, you get blocked. I don't even play those games. I know what I am. I know who I am. I don't even play those games. And I love people, but I do understand idiots also.
Look, bro, I have a block party. You come up, say something reckless, it ain't no thing for me.
Right.
Because you wouldn't say it in my face. So like that's the first part of the conversation. So you don't talk like that to anybody. But
right.
The recklessness that people have. But what I want people to understand from this part of the conversation and coming to a close, but is that no matter what we project onto somebody, they're still a human being. You can't talk recklessly to people. Let me tell you one places that you learn this real fast. My life is in education. I work, run schools. I've started schools, the Capital Prep schools in New York and Connecticut. And you sit in the stands at a basketball game and you say something about a player. You ain't hustling. Well, sitting next to you is his father. And he wants you to explain to him why you just said that to him. I say, when you go to a game or whatever, act like you're sitting next to that person's people who ain't cool with you just talking reckless to them. And people don't see NBA players, they don't see professional athletes as human at all. Like, y'all are just commodities to be traded, literally, in a fantasy league of putting people in one place or the other. And I want the humanity that you represent as a father, as a brother, as somebody who was raised by two fathers. I want people to hear the complexity of your thoughts, because they don't have to agree with your stance on abortion. They don't have to agree with your stance on what men and women are. But I want them to hear from you how what they're missing when they look at someone like you.
Yeah, listen, I want people to really try to first understand yourself, right, and what ticks you off, and then go from there. And I think that's when me traveling around the country and around the world of helping people understand how to love yourself and speak to yourself, right? So, I mean, it's very simple, right? And not to be, corny, cliche, anything like that, but like, however you want someone to treat you and speak to you, that's how you should do, right? So you say, all right, I want this in a person. You write those things down. If it's 10 things you want in a partner, if it's 10 things you want to, now that's what you want in that person, then guess what? All those things, you go do yourself for you. And then you go from there. So, I mean, I think we're all capable of loving. I think we're all capable of healing. I think we're all capable of just understanding and being more patient, not only with ourselves, but with others. But, the marketing and all the things behind it and what's going on, they muddy the waters to make it seem deep, right?
Right.
And it's really, we're not that far off from a hug and understanding, right? We're not that far off from a woman's body is a woman's body, but also on the opposite side, if a man wants to do X, Y, and Z, you know what I'm saying, and he wants to take care of the children, that's not an argument. It's a more conversation to talk about, right? And how do we find a happy medium? When it's coming to being a celebrity or whatever it is that you are, understand that these people are human, right? And my thing is, it's like, don't indulge in all the negative. Like, I'm not going to, I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. I might watch a little bit of BBC, but the news is so negative 90% of the time, 99% of the time. It puts in my energy of my body. So why would I do that? No, I don't do that. I meditate. I listen to my Zen. I do all my good stuff to keep my mind, because there's frequencies that's flying through the world and people don't even see that. So for me, I'm not saying I'm just monk, holy, Buddha type of person, but I just try my best to be as peaceful as possible, and then listen, I'm still North Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes I got to twerk over to that part. But, the majority of the time, I try to be as peaceful as I can, right? Without all the craziness that I do know that people are fighting with inside themselves. So one of those incidents happened to me in Seattle. I was playing for Sacramento Kings, and my mom was in the stands, and she was probably like 2 rows back from courtside. And the Maloofs are sitting behind over the side of the bench. And the very first game, and I don't know, I had like 20-something, Rates killing, so we're going back and forth. And the guy says something, he's sitting next to my mom, right, a little across from my mom, whatever, or right in back of mom or something like that, and says something very vulgar. So I go back and I say something back vulgar to him, but the NBA fined me, right? And my mom was right there. So I'm like, yo, we got to protect my mom, because if I go after this cat for being disrespectful in front of my mom, so the Maloofs put my mom with them and with security by her, the whole thing. You just shouldn't have to do that. But again, I don't know this person. This person is very probably into the game, and this is permitted when it comes to sports, right? The back and forth and the rah 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 and everything like that. And that's cool. Whatever the case is. Meek Mills got into a little situation at the fight. You've been to fights before. When you go to a fight, ain't nobody peaceful. Everybody want to be tough. They drinking, they probably smoking, they on some type of like whatever it is. And everybody at a fight want to be able to act like they're a fighter, right? So, Meek apologized for that, and then you had it. But it's just so many people inside that area that I don't, for whatever reason, the energy flows like that, right? So you gotta, the older I got, the more I started to understand that if you go into the airport, go in happy and patient and peaceful, but you can't control everyone else.
Right.
Everyone probably anxiety driven. They don't know how to control their emotion, this, that, whatever. The TSA may be on one. Don't like that one. It's got so much going on, but under your control is you. So instead of me fighting other people to become different, I just have to understand that and just be who I am in solitude.
So what dorm did you live in as a freshman?
At Rhode Island?
Yep.
I lived at
Browning?
I lived at Browning.
That's where I lived too.
Oh, you live in Browning? Yeah, all the freshmen live in Browning.
I lived in I actually stayed in Browning all 4 years because I became an RA. So that was where I spent all 4 years. Did you move down the line afterwards?
Yeah, so I went from Browning to, it was just another B that was right next to it. Bressler. I went to Bressler, and after Bressler, we went to, I went to across the street.
What, say that again? I'm sorry?
I went to Graduate Village right after Bressler, right across the street.
That's what's up.
Me, Tyson, and Antonio Reynolds, Dean, we all went there. Tyson,
y'all had a crew, man. Y'all really did some things. You really did some things. Look, man. I appreciate you taking the time out.
Sure.
I'm a big fan. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Anytime, man. Anytime. We can go on again next time. It's all good.
I'm looking forward to it. We may just do that. I want to get into next time more what you're doing now. Mm-hmm. I think people need to know more about some of the work that you're doing now, really putting a face on the community that we need. We need more brothers out there like you doing what you're doing, because I deeply appreciate what you do. Sincerely.
Thank you so much.
All right, Blood. Thank you so much. You take good care.
Yes, sir.
Right.
My guy.
Peace.